is the 12th time that it's happened this year, and it's only January the 4th.
For more than 3 decades, The Benny Hill Show entertained audiences in 97 countries.
Well,
reaching an incredible 21 million viewers in 1971. Every episode hid visual tricks, technical sleights of hand, and subtle comedic touches that slipped past most viewers. Let's pull back the curtain on The Benny Hill Show to reveal some little details that no one noticed.
I was mocking him.
The screen wraparound running gag. One of the most surreal visual tricks in The Benny Hill Show happened so frequently that viewers accepted it as normal comedy logic. Characters would run off the left side of the screen and suddenly show up on the right, like the TV screen connected both sides. This wasn't a mistake or editing error, it was a deliberate sight gag that Hill borrowed from silent film traditions and early cartoons. The technique created the illusion that characters existed in a looped universe where space folded back on itself. This wraparound effect appeared most prominently during the famous chase sequences set to Yakety sax, but keen observers noticed it in regular sketches too. A character might exit through a door on the left and immediately emerge from a completely different door on the right, defying all spatial logic. Hill was essentially applying video game physics decades before video games made such mechanics commonplace. The gag worked because it happened so quickly that conscious minds couldn't process the impossibility. Viewers simply accepted the visual absurdity and kept laughing. This trick happened a lot, often 5 to 15 times in a half-hour episode. Hill knew that repeating it made viewers stop questioning it and just enjoy the chase. The undercranking frame rate trick? When you think of The Benny Hill Show, that fast, slightly jerky chase scene movement probably comes to mind. Most people assume it was done with editing tricks afterward, but it actually happened right in the camera. The crew used a technique called undercranking, which basically means filming at fewer frames per second than the usual 24. Hill's team often shot those chases at around 18 to 21 frames per second. Then, when the footage played back at normal speed, everyone looked like they were running around in this frantic, cartoon-like way that Hill jokingly called live animation. Undercranking goes all the way back to silent films. Camera operators used to crank the camera by hand, and
I want this place like a new pin! Have I made my point clear? Right!
when they turned it slower during action scenes, it created that same sped-up look. Hill loved old slapstick movies, especially the Keystone Cops, and he brought this old technique back on purpose. The clever part was that he didn't overdo it. The speed-up was just enough to make the movement feel a little unreal, like the laws of physics were slightly off without looking like obvious fast-forward. Most viewers never knew why the motion looked different. They just felt something funny was happening. Hill even mixed speeds within a single shot, filming some actors slower and others normally, which made the chaos feel even more controlled and even funnier. While some tricks were baked into the editing or camera work, others were hiding in plain sight in the background. Bloopers accidentally kept in. The Benny Hill Show maintained a polished professional appearance, but hidden within episodes were genuine mistakes that somehow survived the editing process. These weren't intentional blooper reel moments. They were actual errors that slipped through quality control and made it to broadcast. Sharp-eyed viewers occasionally caught crew members visible in mirrors, shadow mishaps, or props malfunctioning at precisely the wrong moment. Hill's commitment to single-take filming meant some accidents became permanent parts of sketches. One category of surviving bloopers involved background extras breaking character. During elaborate musical numbers or chase sequences, performers in the background would occasionally stop, look directly at the camera, or react to off-screen events. The chaos of Hill's productions, with dozens of people moving simultaneously, made perfect takes nearly impossible. Rather than reshoot expensive sequences for minor background errors, editors gambled that viewers focused on foreground action wouldn't notice the mistakes. Prop failures provided another source of kept-in bloopers. Doors that wouldn't open smoothly, signs that fell before their cue, or costume pieces that detached mid-scene occasionally made final cuts. Some errors actually enhanced the comedy. A wig shifting during a pratfall or a chair breaking unexpectedly added unplanned physical humor. Hill occasionally incorporated these accidents into his reactions, turning mistakes into improvised comedy gold that felt intentional. Cameos by future celebrities. Hidden among the Benny Hill Show's regular cast were performers who would later achieve international fame, though viewers at the time had no idea they were watching future stars. Jane Leeves, who appeared as one of Hill's angels in the early 1980s, would later become globally recognized as Daphne Moon on the American sitcom Frasier. During her Hill's Angels days, she was simply one of many dancers in the background, performing choreographed routines that viewers barely noticed while focusing on Hill's antics. These uncredited early appearances created a treasure hunt for modern viewers who recognize famous faces in unexpected places. The show employed hundreds of extras, dancers, and bit players throughout its run. Many of whom were struggling actors taking any available work. Spotting these future celebrities requires pausing and scrutinizing background performers, an impossible task during original broadcasts, but easily done with modern streaming technology. Hill himself occasionally featured already established performers making cameo appearances, though these were more deliberate. Musical guests and celebrity interviews were clearly marked. But the true hidden details were the unknowns who appeared for single episodes, collected their modest paychecks, and disappeared into backgrounds before later achieving stardom elsewhere. The wall graffiti conversations? Hidden throughout the Benny Hill Show were walls covered in graffiti that held actual conversations. Questions posed on one part of the wall with answers scrawled below. These weren't random background decorations, but carefully scripted visual jokes that viewers routinely missed while focusing on the main action.
Anna Marie to a restaurant. She said, I guess I'll have champagne.
One recurring example showed the question, "Why do bees hum?" written in spray paint, with the answer directly beneath it. They don't know the words. Another wall featured, "What's the difference between a nice girl and garbage?" followed by, "Garbage gets taken out once a week," with a final addition scrawled below, "Not around here, it doesn't." These graffiti conversations appeared primarily in outdoor sketches and chase sequences, positioned where they'd be visible for only seconds as characters rushed past. Hill borrowed this technique from silent film title cards, transforming static environmental details into dynamic storytelling elements. The jokes added layers of comedy that existed independently of the main sketch, creating a richer world where humor permeated every surface. Most viewers never paused to read these background jokes during original broadcasts. Home video and streaming would later reveal how densely packed with comedy each frame actually was. Hidden music within Yakety Sax? If you're a fan of the Benny Hill Show, you instantly recognize Yakety Sax, that hyperactive theme song that kicks off every chase scene. But what most people don't realize is that the tune isn't just one catchy melody, it's actually a clever mashup. Hidden inside are bits of other well-known songs, blended so smoothly that almost no one ever notices them. The music includes pieces of Chicken Reel, an old American folk tune, and even 2 bars of Entrance of the Gladiators, the circus march everyone associates with clowns and big-top chaos.
From British West Hampstead, the ex-ballet dancer, ex-male model.
These little musical Easter eggs were right there the whole time. James Spider Rich wrote Yakety Sax back in 1963 for a show in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and he intentionally slipped in these musical references as a nod to old vaudeville and circus acts. When Ronnie Aldrich created the version used on the Benny Hill Show, he kept those hidden touches. The circus march pops up during the wildest chase moments, adding to the sense that everything is spinning out of control, while the chicken reel parts give certain sketches a goofy country flavor. Most viewers never caught any of this. They just heard a fun, familiar-sounding tune without knowing why it felt that way. Even Peter Hughes's great sax solo couldn't overshadow the fact that the song's secret power came from melodies people already knew. Even if they didn't realize it, the partially concealed sign gags? One of Benny Hill's cleverest visual tricks involved signs that changed meaning depending on what was covering them. In one famous sketch, Hill stands beside a sign reading "Homes to Let" as several attractive women enter a building. After they leave, one woman slaps him across the face. The camera then reveals that a portion of the sign has been adjusted to read "Homes Toilet," French for men's restroom. The joke relied entirely on viewers missing the sign's transformation during the action. These partially concealed label gags appeared throughout the series, often in backgrounds where viewers focused on foreground action. A door might partially obscure a shop sign, changing "finest antiques" to something completely different when opened or closed. Hill understood that audiences naturally focus on faces and movement, making background signs invisible until the punchline demanded attention. The genius was in the timing. These signs existed in frame for several seconds before the reveal, meaning eagle-eyed viewers could theoretically spot the joke coming. But Hill's physical comedy was so engaging that virtually nobody ever did. The technique also worked because British audiences were accustomed to reading signs in daily life, making the visual literacy feel natural rather than forced. The poster board first letter code, one of Benny Hill's most ingenious recurring gags, involved large poster boards positioned beside doors, featuring 6 or 7 innocent-looking sentences stacked vertically. Hill would perform some action near the sign, then casually open the door, which would cover everything except the first letter of each sentence. These first letters, when read vertically, inevitably spelled out a cheeky double entendre word that generated the punchline. The joke worked because viewers initially saw a legitimate notice or advertisement, never suspecting the hidden message. The setup required meticulous planning. Hill's writers had to compose sentences that made grammatical sense while ensuring their first letters spelled the desired word when revealed. Sentences like, "Can you believe?" "Really amazing," "After all," and "perhaps never" might conceal something altogether different. The door's positioning had to be precisely calculated so it obscured exactly the right amount of text. This visual wordplay appeared dozens of times throughout the Thames television years, yet few viewers caught the pattern. The gag happened so quickly, door opens, camera zooms briefly, door closes, that conscious recognition was nearly impossible. Only the subconscious registered the naughty word before the sketch moved forward. Fred Scuttle's backward salute. Fred Scuttle, one of Benny Hill's most beloved recurring characters, appeared in dozens of sketches wearing wire-rimmed granny glasses and a military cap turned sideways on his head. But the most consistent detail, one that military viewers might have noticed but most didn't, was Scuttle's salute. Every single time Fred Scuttle saluted, he used an open palm facing forward, which is completely incorrect for British military protocol. The proper British Army salute requires the palm facing inward toward the temple, not outward like an American salute. This wasn't an accident or Hill forgetting proper form.
Yes, sir. Well, that's not a popular price.
I like it, sir.
Have you anything a little cheaper?
Oh, you're from the BBC, aren't you?
Yes.
The backward salute was a deliberate character choice that defined Scuttle as a well-meaning but perpetually confused bumbler. The incorrect salute appeared in every single Fred Scuttle sketch across 15 years, from his debut through his final appearance. Hill maintained this consistency religiously, understanding that character details, no matter how small, build audience recognition and trust. The sideways cap added another layer to the visual joke. Nothing about Fred Scuttle's military presentation was correct, yet he carried himself with complete confidence. His signature entrance involved stumbling or bumbling behind the interviewer, usually Henry McGee, then snapping into that perfectly wrong salute. Veterans and military personnel occasionally wrote letters pointing out the error, never realizing it was intentional comedy gold. Jackie Wright's head tap response pattern. Jackie Wright, the diminutive bald Irishman who became one of the Benny Hill Show's most recognizable cast members, endured countless head slaps from Benny throughout the series. But hidden within this running gag was a specific verbal response that Wright delivered with perfect consistency. Whenever Hill tapped or rapped on Wright's bald head, or any helmet Wright happened to be wearing, Jackie would pause whatever he was doing and say in his distinctive Irish brogue, "Stop dancing up there." This exact phrase appeared in multiple sketches across different episodes.
You're not allowed on my launching pad without a launching voucher.
In one sketch, Wright wore a regular helmet when Hill drummed on it. In another appearance during Scuttle's space race in the Murder on the Orient Express episode, Wright wore a glass fishbowl helmet, and when Hill tapped it, Wright delivered the identical line, "Stop dancing up there." The repetition created an inside joke for observant viewers, suggesting that Jackie Wright's characters across different sketches might actually be the same perpetually confused man. Most viewers registered the head-slapping sight gag, but never noticed the consistent verbal response accompanying it. The line became Wright's signature protest, delivered with such deadpan timing that it enhanced rather than interrupted the physical comedy. This small detail demonstrated the show's attention to character consistency even within its chaotic slapstick framework. Bob Todd's whiskey. That was always juice? Bob Todd, one of the tall, dignified-looking regulars on The Benny Hill Show, was famous for playing hilariously drunk characters. In sketch after sketch, he'd stagger around with a whiskey bottle, taking giant swigs as if he were downing real booze. But if you look closely at those bottles, something doesn't add up. The whiskey inside is way too light and clear. In close-ups, it's obvious the liquid is really orange juice or apple juice, not alcohol, and not even the tea that film sets often use as a substitute. The giveaway becomes even more noticeable in moments when Todd pours a drink into a glass. The color and consistency are unmistakably fruity, and every now and then you can even spot a bit of pulp. But none of that mattered, because Todd committed so fully to the performance.
It's the 12th time that it's happened this year, and it's only January the 4th.
His wobbling, slurred speech and over-the-top drunken bravado were so convincing that audiences never stopped to question the drink. Their brains automatically filled in the blank. Bottle plus stumbling equals whiskey. The production had practical reasons for the switch. These scenes usually needed multiple takes, and no actor could safely or consistently drink real alcohol. Tea can stain teeth and change shades under studio lights, but light apple or orange juice looked great on camera and was safe to drink repeatedly. The fishbowl helmet Goldfish joke? In one of the Fred Scuttle space-themed interviews, Hill brought out Jackie Wright wearing an enormous glass fishbowl as his space helmet. The straight man, Henry McGee, asked the obvious question, will he be able to live in it? Fred Scuttle's response contained one of the show's darkest hidden jokes, delivered so casually that most viewers laughed without processing the actual implication. Scuttle replied cheerfully, "I should think so, sir. Our goldfish lived in it for 3 weeks." The joke worked on 2 levels. Surface viewers heard it as simple, absurdist humor. Of course, humans and fish have different survival requirements. But the hidden darkness was in the past tense. Lived in it. The goldfish was dead. Scuttle was essentially saying their safety testing involved killing a goldfish, and 3 weeks was apparently an acceptable duration before death. This morbid undertone flew completely under the radar because Hill's delivery was so bright and matter-of-fact. This technique appeared throughout the show, dark implications wrapped in cheerful dialogue. The fishbowl gag also worked visually, with Jackie Wright's confused expression magnified through the curved glass. The room number rotation gag, a surprisingly consistent visual trick, appeared in multiple Benny Hill sketches involving mistaken room entries. The setup was always similar. A character would dramatically break into a hotel or apartment room, often catching a couple in bed, only to realize they'd entered the wrong room. The reveal came when the character glanced at the room number on the door, casually rotated it from a 6 to a 9 or vice versa.
Thought I was gonna be with you!
Oh, never mind.
But I do mind!
I'll be like that in 30 years' time.
In 30 years' time, I won't care!
Then sheepishly exited. This simple prop gag appeared at least half a dozen times throughout the series with slight variations. The genius was in the rotating number plate itself, a specially designed prop that could flip or turn smoothly in one motion. Most room numbers are permanently fixed, but Hill's production team created these trick plates specifically for the recurring gag. The joke worked because audiences could instantly understand the mistake without any dialogue needed. The visual grammar was universally comprehensible. Wrong room, rotate number, embarrassed exit. What viewers missed was how often this exact gag repeated across different episodes and scenarios. Sometimes Hill played the intruder, sometimes other cast members. The setting changed from hotels to apartments to office buildings, but the rotating number remained constant. This repetition created a subtle running joke for observant viewers while remaining fresh enough for casual audiences who wouldn't remember seeing it before. Hill's split-screen self-conversations? Benny Hill was famous for jumping between characters in a single sketch, but his most impressive moments were the ones where he appeared as 2 or even 3 versions of himself in the same shot. Thanks to split-screen photography and extremely careful planning, he managed to hold entire conversations with himself so smoothly that many viewers genuinely thought he had a twin. or that the show hired look-alike actors to pull it off. The trick required absolute precision. Hill would start by filming one side of the scene, delivering his lines while leaving perfect pauses for his other self. The camera had to stay completely still. Then the crew masked off half the lens, Hill switched costumes, and he performed the other role, reacting to dialogue he had recorded only minutes earlier. Later, the two halves were combined either in the camera or through optical printing, creating a seamless final shot. What made the illusion truly convincing was Hill's total commitment to each character. He changed his voice, posture, and facial expressions so much that viewers focused on the personalities, not the special effects. The dividing line between the two sides of the screen was cleverly hidden behind door frames or furniture. The "something else also rises" visual metaphor sequences? Instead of showing romantic scenes directly, the Benny Hill Show loved to wink at the audience through clever visual metaphors. Whenever the sketch hinted at an intimate moment, the show would suddenly launch into a burst of symbolic images: a washing machine shaking violently, a rocket blasting off, fireworks exploding, or even a volcano erupting. These rapid-fire "something else also rises" sequences became a playful workaround for TV censorship, and viewers happily accepted them without overthinking what they meant. Hill didn't invent this idea, of course. Classic Hollywood used similar tricks during the strict production code years, when crashing waves or closing doors served as tasteful stand-ins for romance. But Hill took the concept much further. His montages were faster, funnier, and far more outrageous. You might see a train diving into a tunnel, pistons pounding away, or a champagne cork rocketing into the air. All in the span of a few seconds. Each image topped the last in exaggerated symbolism. What most people never realized is how carefully these montages were assembled. Hill chose each shot deliberately, matching the build-up and pace to whatever was being implied in the scene. Even though viewers couldn't consciously track every image, the sequence created a clear, emotional, and comedic rhythm. The chase scene direction reversal? Popular memory of the Benny Hill Show centers on images of Benny chasing scantily clad women through parks and streets. However, a careful analysis of the actual chase sequences reveals a surprising truth. Benny Hill was being chased far more often than he was doing the chasing. In the majority of closing chase scenes, Hill played the hapless victim fleeing from angry crowds, irate husbands, or women he'd accidentally offended. The cultural perception reversed the actual on-screen dynamic. This reversal happened because promotional materials and highlight reels emphasized the more controversial images of Hill pursuing women. But with incomplete episodes, the pattern was clear. Hill's character would commit some innocent blunder or misunderstanding, then spend the final minutes running for his life. The chase participants included policemen, chefs, nurses, elderly women with umbrellas, and yes, sometimes the Hill's Angels, but usually because Hill had caused chaos rather than romantic pursuit. The typical formula involved Hill as a bumbling everyman whose incompetence triggered communal outrage. He might accidentally destroy a wedding cake, insult a mobster's wife, or cause a multi-vehicle accident through sheer clumsiness. The ensuing chase saw everyone pursuing him, not the reverse. This detail completely changes the show's gender politics when properly understood. Henry McGee's double-duty detail? Henry McGee was the consummate straight man on The Benny Hill Show, appearing in 45 episodes as the polite interviewer who set up Hill's punchlines. He conducted the Fred Scuttle interviews, played authority figures, and anchored countless sketches with his dignified presence. But what almost no viewer realized was that McGee also performed the show's most recognizable audio signature. The enthusiastic opening announcement, "Yes, it's the Benny Hill Show," was voiced by McGee himself, not a separate announcer. This dual role went unnoticed because McGee's announcer voice used a different inflection and energy than his straight man character voices. As an interviewer or sketch character, McGee spoke in measured, refined tones. As the announcer, he projected bombastic enthusiasm that sounded like a completely different person. The show never drew attention to this connection, never showed McGee in an announcer's booth, and never credited him specifically for the vocal work. From 1969 to 1989, McGee opened almost every episode with his trademark line, and then appeared on screen as a character, essentially acting as two people at once. The choice was practical. He was already on set, but it created a smooth continuity, with his voice framing each episode and his presence grounding the comedy. Which hidden details surprised you most? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more TV secrets you never noticed. See you next time.